Erwin Smith is celebrated as the ultimate hero of humanity, the fearless commander who gave his heart, his arm, and his life for the survival of the human race. But what if I told you Erwin Smith's grand speeches were built on a terrifying lie?
That mean our lives are meaningless?
What if the man who led hundreds of innocent, screaming recruits into a hail of crushing rocks didn't do it purely to save humanity, but to satisfy a childhood obsession? Today, we are taking a deep dive into the psychological tragedy of Erwin Smith. Was he a noble leader, a cold-blooded manipulator, or a broken man trapped by his own guilt? Let's break down the dark reality behind Attack on Titan's greatest commander.
Would you say that of our slave?
To understand Erwin, you have to understand where his drive came from. It didn't start with a desire to kill titans or protect the walls. It started with a question to his school teacher father. How do we know there are no humans outside the walls? That single question got his father murdered by the Imperial military police. From that day on, Erwin was consumed by a singular, burning obsession. He had to prove his father was right. Every battle he fought, every strategy he planned, and every soldier he sent to die was secretly driven by one goal: reaching the Jaeger family basement. Erwin himself admits this in season 3. While the world saw a selfless savior, Erwin saw himself as a fraud standing on a mountain of corpses he built just to satisfy his own curiosity. This brings us to the most brutal, agonizing moment in the entire series, the Battle of Shiganshina. Trapped at the wall, bombarded by a storm of supersonic rocks from the beast Titan, Erwin and his forces were faced with total annihilation. There was no military victory left. Now look at those recruits. They were literally kids. They were terrified, crying, throwing up, and trembling in absolute horror. They signed up believing they were going to protect people, and instead they realized they were about to be turned into meat shields. They didn't deserve to die. They were innocent collateral in a war they barely understood. And Erwin knew it. That was the sickening reality of war in Attack on Titan. It wasn't a choice between saving those kids or letting them die. If Erwin did nothing, everyone, those recruits, Levi, Aaron, and every single soul inside the walls, was going to be slaughtered anyway. It was a cold, mathematical nightmare. Either everyone dies in vain, hiding behind a wall, or Erwin forces those terrified recruits to charge into hell. So Levi gets one single blind spot opening to take down the beast Titan. Sitting on that crate, staring at the basement, just a few hundred meters away, Erwin was completely paralyzed. His selfish dream was right there. He wanted so badly to abandon the command, run to the basement, and see the truth for himself. But his duty as commander demanded that he lead those kids straight into the rocks. He was drowning in guilt, and that's when Levi did something that looks cruel on the surface but was actually the ultimate act of love and mercy. Levi kneels down and says the iconic words, "Give up on your dream and die. Lead the recruits straight into hell. I will take down the beast Titan." Why did Levi say that? Because Levi saw that Erwin was completely shattered. Erwin was trapped between his selfish obsession and his moral weight. By ordering Erwin to die, Levi took the agonizing burden of Erwin's shoulders. And look at Erwin's reaction. He doesn't get angry. He smiles and says, "Thank you." Levi freed him from his own nightmare.
Captain Levi's dangerous.
When Erwin rode into that hail of rocks, he didn't hide behind those young recruits. He rode right at the very front. He took the first hit. He used his immense charisma to convince those scared kids that their deaths had meaning, converting their sheer terror to one final desperate push.
My titans have...
Was Erwin Smith selfish? Yes. Was he a monster for using those recruits? Absolutely. But he was also the only man capable of carrying the horrific guilt required to keep humanity alive for one more day. In the end, Erwin didn't die as a selfish dreamer chasing a basement. He died as a leader who gave up everything, even his own soul, so that the people coming after him could see the truth. Erwin Smith's story forces us to ask a terrifying question. Can you truly save people without becoming a monster first? What do you think? Was Erwin right to sacrifice those innocent regrets, or was the cost too high? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Wait, before you click away, I was about to wrap this up, but there are two massive details about Erwin Smith that we have to talk about it if you want to truly understand his psychology. First, where did this crippling guilt actually begin? It wasn't in Shiganshina. It started when Erwin was just a little kid. When Erwin's schoolteacher father shared his private theory about the government wiping humanity's memories, little Erwin didn't keep it a secret. In pure, innocent, naive childhood excitement, he went out and talked about his father's theory to his friends on the street. He didn't know any better, but the military police overheard. They arrested his father, tortured him, and murdered him to keep the secret safe. Imagine living with that weight. Erwin spent his entire adult life knowing that his own naive mouth got his own father killed. That is where his obsession drive was born. His whole career wasn't just about curiosity, it was a desperate, lifelong attempt to make his father's death mean something. And look, people often ask, was there really no other way in Shiganshina? From a psychological and strategic standpoint, no. If Erwin hadn't ordered that charge, the Beast Titan would have wiped everyone out from a distance. Levi, as insanely strong as he is, could never have closed the gap across an open field targeted by supersonic rocks. The suicide charge wasn't just a distraction, it was psychological conditioning. It forced the Beast Titan to focus 100% of his attention on the oncoming recruits, blinding him to Levi sneaking along the outer line of Titans. Without those recruits giving up their lives, Levi dies in that field. Erwin dies, Eren gets captured, and everyone inside the walls gets slaughtered anyway. So what can we actually learn from Erwin's tragic life? Erwin shows us what happens when we let past guilt control our entire future. He carried a childhood mistake for decades, turning it into a burden that almost broke him. In real life, we all make mistakes when we are young or naive, but holding on to toxic guilt doesn't fix the past, it just blinds us in the present. True emotional intelligence is learning to forgive your past self so you don't carry unnecessary trauma into your future. Alright, now I'm actually done. Take care of your mental health, protect your peace, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.